Good morning, Alabama fans. Massive signing day news. A Bryson Cooley update. Courtney Morgan, Alabama's GM, on exactly how he builds Alabama's roster. Kalen DeBoer breaking down every new signee. Plus, we'll hit on national news. And yes, we're going to close with Alabama versus Georgia in the SEC championship game. This one is loaded. This is Wake Up Bama. I appreciate y'all being here. Bryson Culie has a new decision date. Who is Bryson Cooley? Okay, let's start there. 6'6", 315-pound prospect that was supposed to commit to Alabama. He'd been predicted to commit to the Tide today, okay? Now, he had a signing date of 1:15 p.m. He pushed back that date to Friday. Now, I'll get right to it. This looks like a bidding war between Alabama and LSU. Okay, this looks like a matchup between Lane Kiffin and Kalen DeBoer for an offensive tackle. Now, offensive tackles, as you know, are hard to come by, and they are not cheap. I'm going to talk about Courtney Morgan's recruiting philosophy in just a minute. But what do you think is going to happen in this Bryson Cooley situation? Right now, Alabama has 4 offensive linemen. Do you think LSU is going to be able to hang on to him? Do you think Alabama can make a late run? Is this strictly NIL? My read, I think Alabama is still very much in play here. Kids don't necessarily delay decisions when they know for sure, right? So delays mean questions. And Alabama, I think, is giving him answers. And I think if you're looking at the brand, if you're looking at where Alabama is, if you think who needs a tackle, I think that place is Alabama. So, look, I don't make predictions, but it doesn't seem like Alabama is out of this one for Bryson Cooley, a very talented offensive tackle out of Mississippi. That kind of brings me to my next topic, and I'm going over Courtney Morgan's recruiting philosophy. Courtney Morgan spoke to the University of Alabama, and it was a brilliant conversation. There was Bob Welton and Courtney Morgan. Bob Welton also helps with recruiting. Courtney Morgan's the GM. These guys do a stellar job. And Courtney Morgan's asked about kind of the philosophy, right? And I think these were some of the most important comments of the day. This is somebody who builds the roster. This is someone who focuses on roster management, from recruiting to the transfer portal, right? There's nobody more in tune right now than Courtney Morgan with Alabama's roster. And he says this: we just recruit. Thinking about like numbers, is there always a number? No, there's not a number. He's like, we just go out and recruit. We find the best players, but we have to be cost efficient. Getting players is one thing. Retaining them costs too. He put it beautifully. He was like, think about the team that has the most prospects right now. What is it? USC, they have a really big class, 36. He was like, that means they're anticipating losing a lot of players from their class. He's like, we're not anticipating on losing that many. That's why our class is smaller. We don't have to recruit so many guys because we feel confident that we can retain a lot of guys. And you don't know roster numbers anymore. So we keep it simple, and we have to be cost effective in doing that. This is NFL level roster management, 100%. This is Alabama adapting faster than anybody in the SEC, in my opinion. They were even like, it doesn't even matter about the rankings. It matters about what players fit our system and how financially it works out for the players and for the rest of the team. You can tell Courtney Morgan and Kalen DeBoer are on the same page. The person who tells Kalen DeBoer that the player is in, he doesn't follow Twitter. He gets it from from general manager Courtney Morgan. To wrap it up, it is smart spending, right? It is smart retention. It is smart development. It is smart high school recruiting. This is sustainable, and this is the future of recruiting. You're seeing it here at the University of Alabama. And look, I will take Courtney Morgan's evaluations more than any other recruiting service. And by the way, I think the recruiting service do a pretty good job. But, you look to Courtney Morgan calling out guys like, let's say, Lazier Brooks, London Simmons. Those are going to be rare 3 stars, but his 3 stars are going to be able to fit the system better than most and get on the field quickest. So I trust in Courtney Morgan's recruiting evaluations significantly, and you should too. He's building something very special here, and that's a reason why Alabama, they anteed up when USC tried to poach him during the summertime, okay? Courtney Morgan is that instrumental here at the University of Alabama. Let's talk about the transfer portal and high school recruiting, kind of the cost, right? Portal players, probably more expensive, right? These players are more established. And it was interesting because Courtney Morgan and Bob Welton was like, we have certain money for the transfer portal. We have a bucket of money for high school, right? And we have to use that efficiently. And retention is also expensive, right? You think about it. You probably have to come up with another bucket to retain players going into this next season. And that was what Alabama was able to do in the springtime. Remember, no players hit the portal in the springtime because Alabama was able to facilitate the cash to keep those players. High school players, they might want an extraordinary amount, but you have to be effective and efficient recruiting those guys, right? That's why Alabama wants to build kind of, get their high school guys and keep them together and kind of plug the holes with the portal rather than just being a portal type team. You see what I'm saying? Now, I found it interesting in looking at Alabama's recruiting class of 2026, and it's clear that regional recruiting matters. Let me hit on this real quick, okay? Courtney Morgan said that kids from Alabama and Georgia stay longer, care more, and understand the Iron Bowl. I was like, man, that is so important, right? He's like, that's intentional and that builds culture. And look, the numbers back it up. 7 guys from Georgia, Jordan Edmonds and Xavier Griffin, are big additions from the state of Georgia, okay? And 6 from the state of Alabama. Sedarian Morgan, Xavier Crowell, right? Big additions from the in-state. And you know what? And Coach Kalen DeBoer then talked later on about Zay Hall, who's out of Tuscaloosa. And he's like, it's so important to take care of your backyard, especially when they're so good. And he was like, look, this means something to them. And to have like an Iron Bowl when like Tim Keenan can say he's 5-0 against Auburn, you want players on your team that are from the home state. Deontay Lawson, Tim Keenan. They understand what's at stake besides just winning the game. They understand it playing in the Iron Bowl, right? Rivalries. It's important to keep that home state, those home state players on your roster. Let's go over a quick signing day breakdown from Coach Kalen DeBoer, right? Go player by player and talk about some of the quick hits. We won't mention all of them, but we'll mention some quick hits that Coach Kalen DeBoer spoke about, all right? Coach Kalen DeBoer spoke about Jeriah Edwards, and he said, look, physically, he'll hit you hard, he's a leader, he's a teammate. Jeriah Edwards came out of Baltimore, Maryland, right? St. Francis, same high school, as I've mentioned on my show, Chris Broswell, Shane Lee, Blake Corum. This is a big-time player. This is a big-time get. This is a 5-star, and I would imagine he's versatile enough to play at a variety of positions. If you haven't seen his highlight, if you have some downtime, type in Jeriah Edwards, and you'll be blown away. This might be, if you're a defensive player, this might be your favorite player in the class. I promise you, you're going to like the physicality that he brings from the safety spot. Sedarian Morgan, we'll switch over to the offense. Woo, man, 6'4", 220 pounds, 6'8", high jumper. For all you out there that understand that number, that's impressive for somebody who's 6'4", 220, okay? He's a threat everywhere. I firmly feel that if Sedarian Morgan was playing this weekend in the SEC title game, that he would be making plays, that he would be coming down with the football, that Alabama would be able to utilize him. I'm telling you, just wait. He was at Benjamin Russell High School, state of Alabama, the same high school as Terrell Owens. And I always remember when he was signing or committing rather, And Terrell Owens was at the ceremony, and Terrell Owens was like looking up at him. Sedarian Morgan looked more grown man than Terrell Owens looked. And Terrell Owens is not a small man. You see what I'm saying? Max Sutter, 6'5", 220 pounds. He's a tight end that signed today. Coach Kalen DeBoer was like, number one, his dad played in the NFL. He has a great family, great genetics, and he just brings the juice, brings that energy. He played quarterback, played on the defensive side of the ball, had like 8 sacks. So Max Sutter coming in at the tight end position, really exciting. And also, the tight ends, I think we're seeing a metamorphosis of the tight ends. And even Courtney Morgan was talking about the tight end position today. He's like, look, you got to recruit your tight end position for all of them to be a little bit different. You got your inline guys, your guys that can be hybrid. And then you if you can find an H-back, you keep on, they're like unicorns. An H-back is like Robbie Oots, somebody that's just, truly dynamic, can be like a fullback / tight end. But I think Max Sutter is kind of a guy that can be possibly a playmaker. Same thing with Caleb Edwards, who's a freshman right now for Alabama, and one freshman that's going to have to step up this weekend because Josh Cuevas is missing. We're going to talk Alabama, Georgia at the back end of this video. Xavier Crowell, 6 foot, 200 pounds, probably 210 pounds. He's the running back. He's the crown jewel in this class. 5-star running back out of Jackson, Alabama. It's so amazing. And Coach Kalen DeBoer said the same thing, that he reclassified. He was a 2027 kid, reclassified, and he's still one of the nation's top running backs. Speed, power, takeover ability, finishes every single thing in the end zone. Outstanding highlight tape. One of my favorites. Bear Fretwell, 6'6", 296 pounds, in from the state of Georgia. Coach Kalen DeBoer said that when they were, as they go recruiting regionally, he's never met more Bears, more Bryants, more Nicks, because, look, Bear Bryant, right? It's like Nick Saban. So everyone's naming their kids after these greats. So Bear Fretwell, his family is obsessed with Alabama. They're from Georgia, and he's an offensive lineman. He's got a gigantic frame. Taden Kawa, right? 2 quarterbacks in this class. Kawa is a big quarterback, big arm, out of the state of Utah, 6'6", 240 pounds, 30 touchdowns during his junior year, 30 touchdowns during his senior year. This is someone that Ryan Grubb recruited specifically. I think he's very comparable to Austin Mack in terms of the arm power that he has. So, we'll see if he can be, I don't know if, like when these guys play or whatever, but I think he'll compete down the road. I'm serious. I really liked the velocity on his football during his highlights. Jet Damala, I'm dead serious. I think he's comparable to Keelan Russell. I think he's very finesse. I think he has great touch on the ball. He's a playmaker. And Jet Damala played at Nebraska. He threw 61 touchdowns this season. He averaged like 4 or 5 passing touchdowns a game. In an interview, he said that he feels that he's the best quarterback to ever come out of the state of Nebraska. He was recruited all over the place. This is the guy who went to the Elite 11. Talked to some sources, and I was like, do you like Damala? They said, love Damala. So you got your quarterback, your 2 quarterbacks coming in. Coach Kalen DeBoer did mention something interesting. He said they want to have 5 quarterbacks on the roster. So if Ty Simpson leaves, they'll have 4, right? You have Keelan Russell, Austin Mack, Damala, and Kahua. Those are your quarterbacks. And then they have John Kazanaga, who's a walk-on. He's 6'7", 260. You could have like the tallest quarterback room in the country, I bet, right? And think about this. I've been saying this a couple times on my shows. Alabama has they are yet to start a quarterback that they have specifically recruited here. They didn't recruit Jalen Milroe, and they didn't recruit Ty Simpson. They started those guys because those guys were the best of the bunch, but they're waiting for their quarterback to get on the field. Isn't that interesting? Xavier Griffin, 6'2", 6'3", 205 pounds. Now, he's an inside linebacker that everybody's raving about. He's got a really long frame, a really long wingspan, super athletic. I think he could. Coach Kalen DeBoer said that he envisions him like a Jahad Campbell down the road. Everybody wanted this guy out of the state of Georgia, specifically the Bulldogs, and he ends up committing to Alabama and signing with Alabama. A gigantic get, tons of athleticism. I think he could play the wolf position, inside backer. He's like Justin Jefferson and Jahad Campbell, like blended. It's crazy, super crazy athleticism. Zay Hall, I always like to hype this guy up. He's a 3-star from Tuscaloosa. He's probably my sleeper in this class. I like him, likes what he brings to the table. And then also spoke about Jamiri Matthews, the personality, the energy. He's a big defensive lineman and blows up the offensive line. So that's kind of just some quick hits from Coach Kalen DeBoer talking specifically about a couple guys. I have another video that kind of, encapsulates more of the quotes about Coach Kalen DeBoer. All right. Here are my signing day superlatives. Let me run through this real quick. My takeaway at the quarterback position, you have big, athletic quarterbacks, right? Kahua and Tamala, those are bigger quarterbacks that fit this system. And it was interesting to me, like I said, that one is similar to Keelan Russell and one is similar to Austin Mack. I think there's something to that. That's exactly what I think they want on the roster. I do have a question for you regarding the running back position. Do you feel that one running back is enough? I mean, you look at the running backs for next year, you're going to lose Jam, you're going to lose Jalen Washington. So you have Richard Young, Daniel Hill, Kevin Riley, A.K. Deere, and now Xavier Crowell. Do you think they pick up another running back, or do you think they'll stay with 5? I know everybody thinks that one of those running backs will transfer out, but I don't know. I found it interesting that they just took one running back. Javari Barnett was supposed to sign with Bama. He ended up flipping and signing with Illinois. I don't think that was a big loss, to be honest, but Xavier Crowell is a damn good running back. 5-star, they just get one. And same thing with the wide receiver. Do you just need one wide receiver? When is the last time Alabama just signed one wide receiver? I thought that was interesting. Brian Williams Jr. was committed. He flipped to Auburn. And then Owen Cabell was committed, and he flipped to Vanderbilt. So, but none of those guys are like Sedarian Morgan. I mean, Alabama got the best wide receiver on the board, period. We'll see if Alabama can end up with 5 offensive linemen if they get Bryson Cooley, who's announcing on Friday, as I said at the beginning of the show. If Cooley flips, that 5 offensive linemen. But I still feel, and I'll talk, maybe portal needs in just a second, you still do need a quality tackle. And look, I'm going to challenge the offensive line. I don't know how good this offensive line is. I want to see these guys in action. I want to see how they are coming along in spring. Is that their best area right now? I'd probably say no, but that's just my personal opinion. Maybe you have a difference of opinion inside the comment box. Let me know. Defensive line, rock solid. Nolan Wilson is a name to know out of the defensive line. Absolute stud. Jameer Matthews, really, really good as well. Linebackers, Xavier Griffin, as I said, tons of upside opportunity. And I think Zay Hall is your traditional kind of meaty inside linebacker. The secondary is elite. Jordan Edmonds, my goodness, that guy's a baller out of Georgia. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the first freshmen to see the field. And then Jeriah Edwards, as I mentioned, that guy's absolutely fantastic. Zion Gibson out of Gadsden, the home state of Alabama. That's another big pickup. And then they got Rael Kelly out of Cincinnati. So the secondary straight. And I think, like I said, my sleeper, probably I'm going to stick with Zay Hall. So that's my question for you. Who is your sleeper in this class? All right. Let's talk about, let me do a quick hit on the class numbers real fast, okay? You got 7 from Georgia, 6 from Alabama, only 1 from California. There for a while, it seemed like everybody was from California. 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 4 offensive linemen, and a very versatile defensive front, right? But no kicker. All right, let's talk a little bit national news real quick, and then we're going to finish out talking about Alabama and Georgia. All right, so national headlines starting right now. Do you see this one? Diego Pavia, I promise you, this is real life stuff. Diego Pavia is asking President Trump to expand the playoffs to 16. He's asking him to call for an executive order. And I was thinking, on the show, I was like, which team do you think is most likely to sue the college football committee this year? There's always seems to be one team. Vanderbilt, Miami, or Texas. And I don't know if this is true. I saw this. I hadn't had time to vet it, but it came across my desk that Clark Lee, the head football coach at Vanderbilt, again, I don't know if this is true, is telling the team to have their bags packed in case they have to play a game this weekend. I'm like, who are they going to play? You know what I'm saying? But that's a real headline. I promise you. All right. Brian Hartline. You see this? The offensive coordinator, right? Brian Hartline at Ohio State will be the new head football coach at South Florida, taking over for Alex Golesh. So Hartline is kind of known for being that wide receiver guru, and I think that will be a blow to Ohio State. You know how Ohio State's wide receivers operate. So Brian Hartline headed to South Florida. Collin Klein, who is the offensive coordinator for Texas A&M, will take over at Kansas State, right? Penn State, I have no idea what Penn State is going to do. I have no idea who they're going to hire. And you look to kind of the names that they were hiring or that they were at least looking at, right? Like, what were they going to do? And I know a lot of people continue to throw Coach Kalen DeBoer's name out there, but I think everybody, to be honest, that was kind of in that Penn State mix got extensions. Think about it. Kirk Signetti, Indiana, he ended up getting a new deal for 8 years, $93 million. Matt Rule at Nebraska gets a new deal, 2 years, $25 million. Mike Elko, A&M, 6 years, $66 million. Eli Drinkwitz, 6 years, 60. All these, I promise you, all these guys are mentioned in the Penn State coaching search. Clark Lee got a new deal, 6 years. We don't know how much it makes. It's a private school, right? Kalani Sitake, we don't know, but he got extended. Brent Key, 5 years, $32 million. So, man, every single person that got mentioned in that Penn State coaching search got a raise. And does that mean that Coach Kalen DeBoer is next? I don't know. It sounds like it. Who's Penn State going to hire? Everybody's already has a job. All right, Notre Dame, it seems like they're going to be a playoff bubble team. And I think the committee would like to see them join a conference just like the rest of the country. When Alabama leapfrogged Notre Dame, I think the main reason was because they looked at the fact that Texas A&M now has a loss, and that 1 point loss, is no longer to a team that was undefeated. And, I think the metrics kind of speak for itself. So, I watch for BYU to maybe get in the final moments. I maybe watch for or Miami, because they have the head-to-head over Notre Dame. But I don't know if all of a sudden Notre Dame just pops over Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? Like Miami just leapfrogs Notre Dame, but Bama just did. We'll see what happens on that front. And again, this Sunday already, will be the official college football playoff bracket. So my last question, as you're kind of thinking about things, and there's Coach Saban and Miss Terry right here on this Alabama basketball game. Man, they love them some Alabama basketball. They're always courtside. My last question before I talk about this Alabama and Georgia preview, should college football do away with the conference championship games? I know it's pageantry. We're used to seeing this, but I almost feel like it puts these teams in a bad situation. Because a team like Georgia, they could sub out everybody. Not that they will. They're going to play to win, but they could. They don't have to play their starters. They don't have to risk their quarterback getting hurt. Their quarterback got hurt last year. Remember this, right? So, I don't know. Let's talk Alabama and Georgia real quick to end the show. When you look to kind of the keys to the game, I think I always start with the injury report. Now, tonight, I figured we get an update on Jam Miller. And if anything happens, you'll see a video pop up to your phone immediately. But Jam Miller, I think he's questionable for this weekend. I've heard some good things. I've heard some bad things. If he can't go, what does Alabama do from a running game perspective, right? Daniel Hill is going to really have to stand up. You're going to have to be able to run the ball. You're going to have to be able to win the time of possession against Georgia. I've been really confident about Alabama's defense versus Georgia's quarterback, but Alabama has to get that offense going, man. DeBoer and Grubb, they're now fully in sync. Grubb is on the sideline. It seemed to help Alabama's run game a little bit more, but I still don't feel that the passing game is as good as it could be. And my goodness, we got to hit on some deep balls. Ty Simpson has to have an explosive downfield at some point in time. When's the last explosive that we've had downfield? You see what I'm saying? Tell me. Is it that Lazier Brooks, like 53-yard pass downfield? Other than that, it just seems like that's not part of Ty Simpson's game, right? The defense is clear backbone. I have no issues with them, although Georgia did run for like 220 yards last time they played. So limit those chunk yardage plays, and a full preview will be provided before the game. But I think you need to limit those explosives by Georgia, right? I mean, it's a good football team, a lot of different weapons. Georgia's elite, but I think they are beatable. And Gunnar Stockton, until they get a quarterback that is just outstanding, that's going to be Georgia's biggest issue in my mind. But they do have wide receivers, Zachariah Branch, Lawson Lucky. Those are really good weapons that they have at their disposal. They have a really good field goal kicker as well. It's going to be a trench battle, as you know it always is when these two teams get it going. The balance of Alabama's offense might dictate this game, unless just Ty has another incredible performance where he's just absolutely cooking on third downs. I think they were 14 of 19 on third downs. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see Alabama's offense be killing it, be rolling with momentum, and then all of a sudden it's like 2nd and 6 and Caden Proctor's at quarterback. Like, you don't need to like overthink this. You know what I'm saying? So Bama still has the clear edge in my opinion because of the defense. All right, and I think they're like a 2.5-point underdog. We'll see what happens. I think it's clear that win or lose, if this game's tight, win or lose, Bama's in the playoffs. The only way that Bama is not in the playoffs is if they just get blown 42-0. You think that's going to happen? No, it's not. So we'll keep you posted, kind of on the status update of Jam Miller. But as you know, Josh Cuevas won't be able to go for Alabama's offense this weekend. So we're going to look to those freshmen tight end to step up. And I think Georgia will be missing their center, which is clearly a big deal as well. So that's what we got on Wake Up Bama this morning. I hope you guys enjoyed our signing day coverage on Wednesday. That was fun. We were live for 4 continuous hours, a lot of coverage, and I really have liked to come on here, Wake Up Bama in the morning to kind of get the day started. Please let me know what you think about Alabama's signing class. I want to know your sleeper from the class inside the comment box. I want to know your transfer portal additions that you'd go after, not names, but like positions, and give me an X factor for this weekend's game between Alabama and Georgia. News as it happens right here on Bama Football on YouTube, and you can catch me live at 10 a.m. Central Time right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Thanks for watching, fam. I love you. I appreciate you, and have a beautiful start to this day, and roll Tide.